morning. Good morning, everybody. Good to see the early birds there. Morning, Sean, Brendan, Michelle, Alison, Facebook user, whoever you are. Great to see you guys. Thanks for joining me again. Another Wealth Coffee chat. Yeah, it was awesome last night, Alison. Great to see a bunch of awards. Great to see a bunch of you guys on. And to be honest, everyone's a winner in that space. You know, becoming a property investor is certainly something that's a little bit different. And everyone who has started that journey certainly needs congratulations. But last night it was great to see a few of you guys get a few awards and attending the mentoring night. If you haven't already, if you didn't see it last night, folks, make sure you grab the replay when it comes out. And a little bit of the information today that I'm going to share is from last night with Sam, a few other things as well. But before we do that, as always, a little bit of an intro. Jason Witten's my name, if you're new. Hey, good morning, Riley and Miles. If you're new, let us know. Say new or give us a shout out in the chat. Tell us where you're dialing in from. There's always new members joining the Positive Real Estate Coaching and Mentoring Program, which is always awesome. Great to have you here if you've found us already. And if you're wandering by and you've accidentally found us, then fantastic. Great to have you with us also. Give us a shout out in the chat. Let us know what you're up to. I've been property investing over 22 years and coaching investors over 18. And along the way, learnt one or two things. And in the mornings, we get a chance to have a coffee and hopefully chew the fat, share a little bit of the experiences, the understanding, the wisdom of property investing via a little thing called the Wealth Coffee Chat in the mornings. I try to get going at about 8:05, but it tends to knock on a little bit. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about something, and I don't know. I'm going to ask you a question, see if you guys can guess it in the chat. What's a thing? What in the world of real estate? What is something that's gone up? And also up. Yeah, okay. It's gone up. It's going up. However, it's now the highest in this. It's now the highest in this subset of the asset class. We've seen for over 15 years. So the highest as a percentage of income in 15 years, and the other style of asset class within the asset class is now still at almost the lowest. Actually, about a year ago was the lowest. The lowest at this asset class we'd seen in 13 years. So what's the highest and what's the lowest? Miles, boom. You're on it, mate. Sharp as a tack. So, team, ladies and gents, gang, the rents are lining up as we have talked about. And rents up, interest rates down. Yeah, I think they're going to stay down for quite a while, Alison. And rents right now, when we have a look at this, and, you know, I'd love to, maybe I should have a little tracking mechanism about the number of times I've said in the last 18 months, watch this, folks, watch this space. The rents are going to go absolutely spastic. And it is underway, significantly underway. I gave it away in the bloody title. Anyway, I forgot to keep the suspense. Anyway, there you go. That's funny. Anyway, good to see you guys keeping me on my toes. There you go. So, rents up. And by and large, this is across the country. This is not, city by city, but across the country, ladies and gents, we have right now rent as a proportion of an average wage in Australia right now at the highest number we have seen since this chart came out. I think this was an RP data chart. I should have grabbed the source at the bottom. And I'm sure it's probably the highest it's been for longer than 2005. This one is interesting, right? This one is interesting because if you can see, ladies and gentlemen, for almost ever. All right, let's check this out. Tell me the gap between rents of the differences in rents between units and houses, we have never seen a gap like this in recent history. A gap like this in recent history. Ladies and gentlemen, there are money, there is dollars, there is cash flow in them there hills, gaps, valleys, whatever you want to call it. No one's talking about this except me and Sam, because most educators in this investment space are so one-eyed, so inexperienced that they can only talk about houses because they don't know what they're doing. I can tell you this right now. I'm going to have a little rant for the moment. A lot of people pretend that they're property experts. No, they're property participants. They participate in one way. Let's buy a house, which is nothing wrong with a house. I love houses. I've got plenty of houses in my portfolio, and so you should too. And then they say units are bad and houses are good. What an absolute stupid comment. It's a bunch of bullshit. Matter of fact, I've made quite a lot more money in my amazing apartments than I have in my average houses. I can tell you that. So, momentary rant over. Let's get back to the facts that we're investigating today. The fact is we have the largest gap between apartments / units and houses we have seen in recent history, and maybe almost ever as we go. And it's an interesting conversation. What is this gap going to do? Because we can see here, folks, that gap hasn't been in history very large, if not, a gap at all. For me, I'm saying, hey, maybe the question here, undo that, maybe the question here is there could be some opportunity here. Let's investigate. Let's have a bit of a look at this stuff. All right. And if you have a house right now, I would be reviewing your rents pretty significantly or pretty swiftly, because there's been some significant increases in rents. So one of the people I was chatting to the other day said over their 8 properties, they had on average increased their rent by $100 a property in the last 2 years. So get that. Going along like that. Imagine that as a, morning, Alexis. Imagine that as a pay rise, right? You go, all right, here we go. Boom, $100 per property, $800 a week. Boom, up. That's a $50,000 or close enough, maybe 48 or something like that. Pay rise, like overnight. That's pretty significant. That's pretty sweet. So let's have a look. Let's drill into this potential opportunity when we're talking as we go. And yeah, absolutely, Alison. The right type of apartment it feeds amazingly into Sam's conversation about live, work, play, and those future income streams, future desirability for living. And you got to think about this. If you're a renter and you want that premium rent coming in, you're not going to get the premium rent a million miles away from the appropriate infrastructure. Alison said, walk to the CBD. I'm sure Alison would have been walk to good transport, walk to good community infrastructure like parks and other things. Don't underestimate that stuff, folks, when it comes to the lifestyle that people would prefer to live. I can tell you right now, most people would prefer to be able to go out on the weekend and enjoy themselves rather than have to stay at home and mow the bloody lawn. Something like that. New Farm's amazing, Alison. It's a really amazing place to live. And yeah, absolutely. So let's have a little investigation about what this looks like as we go. There's a massive gap in the rent increases. Houses have set the pace. Houses have boomed in value, significantly boomed in value, which is setting the pace again. Let's have a look. Last night, Sam shared this with us as well, and we've had a a spike in the production of housing, which is due to the construction boost, the booster, and that's not going to feed into rental properties per se. That will certainly house those millennials or those who didn't have enough deposit and got a chance to get into the market, which is brilliant. But if you see here, the steep decline in apartment construction from, quite frankly, some record highs in previous years. What happened at this point here, we talked about it last night, was APRA and these lending changes, which significantly affected investors. And you guys can have a look at this line here. This line here, we have been down at significant lows, almost record lows for multi-density construction and delivery of stock in our major cities for over 3 years. It actually started, folks, well before, we talked about this last night, it started well before COVID came along, okay? It actually started on the back of the APRA issues, then politics. We've talked about politics as well. Politics is our biggest exposure risk as investors. Everything else is fairly understandable compared to politicians. They're mad. So we've got apartment construction at all-time lows. We've got rent gaps at all-time lows for rental, and then the gap between apartments and houses at all-time highs, the biggest gap we've seen in recent history, if not further. We've got construction low and delivery. You look at this. We have had insane declines, folks. This is from Melbourne, by the way. And that's why Sam and myself and the team at Positive think Melbourne is an absolute winner. The absolute winner when it comes to value buying at the moment. You know, Brisbane is streaking along and still great value, like fantastic yields and etc. But Melbourne, because of the lockdowns and so on, you know, was significantly affected from a rental income point of view for 2 years. And it's sort of shied off. A few investors have shied off there. A few buyers have shied off in certain ways. And we still think it's got like just crazy value down that way. And house buying actually in Melbourne has got some crazy value. But I won't, that's not what the conversation is today. So, folks, we have like crazy undersupply, no supply coming for the next 2 to 5 years. I mean, it takes forever to get supply up and running. What is that doing? What is that doing when we're sort of chatting and we go, all right, well, you know, we're building our portfolio. You know, maybe we consider how we construct our portfolio, put together, you know, some of our purchases, and, you know, we have a look at this. And the gap, if you look at all of the cities, if you look at the gap right now in Australia, the gap between house pricing, and the gap between apartment pricing is insane. You have a look at this, like Brisbane, Canberra, 44% difference, right? Brisbane, 40% difference. Melbourne, 36%. Sydney, you know, these differences are pretty significant. But you have a look at the places, the cities that are very comfortable and are used to living in multi-density locations. The multi-density comfort factor, the winners are, that's not a very good thing, the winners certainly will be, folks, certainly will be the Melbournes of the world, and the Sydneys of the world when it comes to multi-density living. Everyone's used to that, followed closely by Brisbane, and then I'd say Canberra. Now, Perth and Adelaide are not, as a percentage of multi-density dwellings, have a very low percentage of people living in those, right? And I can grab some stats on that. But I would say number one winner in this unit price gap is going to be Melbourne, Brisbane, and then Sydney. Sydney's going to languish because of the, just the average price. But, I wouldn't underestimate Canberra. We've done some stuff in Canberra and it's gone amazingly. So the point, Jason, get to your point. Stop waffling on. The point is this, ladies and gents, we have a significant number of data points in the conversation about multi-density apartment living and also potential investing that should be tweaking our ears. Brisbane, 40% gap difference between this stuff, right? So when we're building our portfolio, team, if you're looking here, and I'm going to draw a very terrible map of Australia. That is hideous, isn't it? Hang on, let me do a better job. Oh, my Lord. All right. Okay, concentrate, Jason, concentrate. That's a bit better, isn't it? There's Tasmania down there. Again, still pretty terrible, but sorry, folks. Art is certainly not my skill set. There we go. And we put Canberra. Where do we put Canberra? In there somewhere. All right, so my very average drawing here, and the point of my average drawing is if you are constructing, building, creating your acquisition portfolio, then, it might look something like this. 1 times house in Brizzy, a unit or apartment 1 times, and down here, 1 times house in Melbourne, 1 times unit in Melbourne. You're going to be able to get your house in Brisbane between 600 and 700, okay? And then your unit, a good quality unit, thanks, Alison, a good quality unit in Brisbane in the good locations with infrastructure, again, you're going to be, between 600 and 700, all right? Same down here in Melbourne, you're going to be 600 and 700, and unit 600 and 700. Now, the distances between where they are located, the house is probably going to be 25K away and the apartment can be 5K away. That's the difference. We talked about that last night when it comes to building our portfolio as we go, okay? And I wouldn't, I'm a big fan of, whack a townhouse in there and you've got the trifecta, folks. You've got a house, a unit, a townhouse across two different locations. You got 3 different asset classes, 3 different styles of tenant, 3 different land values and land content. What a fantastic way to build your portfolio and really spice up the exposure and also the diversification, which maximizes value opportunity and minimizes risk as you go. But there you go. Hey, did that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to you guys, because let's just do a quick recap on my my conversation this morning. I believe rents in apartments will explode. And I think the biggest increase you are going to see, ladies and gentlemen, will be out of Melbourne. Okay? I can see Melbourne leading the way. And certainly places like Brisbane because of population, and places like Canberra and Sydney will certainly have their day, all right? I don't believe Perth and Adelaide will follow the same suit because the multi-density dwelling or living in those cities is not as robust, but they still will carry excellent value depending on how you invest. We have an insane undersupply of multi-density dwelling. And there's other things like Brisbane in 2018 banned infill townhouse developments in Brisbane. Just get rid of them, right? So there's all these other things that have gone on and will continue to go on, folks, to make these maneuvers extremely valuable in multi-dimensional ways, multi-financial ways as well. Significant decreases into the future still for completions, as we look into the future marketplace. And the gap, folks, check out these gaps. Some of the largest gaps in recent history the difference between house and apartment buying. Now, this was just a chat about apartments today, folks. And yes, it's easier to buy an absolute rubbish, piece of rubbish shit apartment because most people don't understand how to do it properly. Sam has refined the conversation about the right type and style and amenity and dwelling when it comes to apartment living. If you guys haven't heard and listened to what he teaches, then you need to, because he is absolutely amazing at it. Anyway, there you go. What's the takeaway? Apartments are carrying exceptional value right at the moment. Houses are great too. Doesn't mean townhouses aren't. I'm just pointing out that there's some opportunity that no one's talking about, and we should be, as investors, understanding the opportunities in different asset classes, in different locations, at different times, for different reasons. There you go. All right, I made my point, I'm pretty sure. Let's make this. Let's call this done and dusted. Wealth Coffee Chat, over and out. You guys are awesome. Yeah, Alison, you are absolutely ahead of the game in Brizzy, mate. Nice. There you go. I love it. So thanks, team. Great to hang out. Great to chat. Thanks for supporting the channel and the mornings. If you miss it, hey, did you know there's a little podcast? You can sign up on Spotify or iTunes. I think it might be a little bit more challenging to get the gist of it because, you miss out on my Australia drawings if you just listen to the podcast. But, it's a good alternative if you can't make the live ones. Anyway, folks, I'm just rabbiting on now. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out. Join me tomorrow for another Wealth Coffee Chat around about the same time, 8:05. Till then, you guys take care and bye for now.